If you joined us in 2021, please note that we are using the same platform, so you may have familiarity with it already. At the end of this training, we will address the pre-submitted questions and then open the floor to new questions if we have time. This training is being recorded and will be uploaded to our Convener Success Program pages on the World Water Week website within 1 to 2 days. Before we get started, a quick word on access to the digital platform. Access is dependent on your registration. So I encourage you to register if you haven't done so already. And you can do this on our website, worldwaterweek.org. We will be inviting session hosts onto the digital platform in the next couple of days. Note that your choice of ticket will determine the content you can access on the World Water Week platform. So with that said, let's get started. Over to you, Dale.
Great, thank you so much. I will engage my screen share. And I'm hoping y'all can see my screen. Yes, perfect. Okay, great. Go ahead and dig in. All right, thanks so much again, everyone. Let's get started into this training. So we're going to start this off by talking about how you will receive your invitation into the digital platform. We'll talk about getting you logged in and editing your personal profile. Then we will touch on the different types of sessions that are available to you, how to manage them, and this will include how to find your sessions, how to add speakers, and how to start the sessions. Then we'll talk about the best ways to engage and interact with your audience through the files and polls feature. We'll touch on some best practices and pro tips for those of you that are presenting virtually. And then finally, we will wrap everything up with those submitted questions and possibly give you some time to ask some questions live. Again, this question is being recorded and distributed for later viewing. And that way, if you need to rewatch any of this, you will have the availability to do so. Now, you will first gain access to the digital venue soon by receiving an electronic invitation to your inbox. You will find a center button in that email that is a unique authorization link. And when you click on that link, you will actually be taken out to the digital venue where you can claim your account. Now, you'll notice that some of those fields will automatically populate for you. You will need to create a password here. And this password and email address that are used on this page will be your login credentials to the digital venue moving forward. Now, once you've agreed to the terms and conditions, I do recommend that you click that complete profile button to be taken out to the digital venue where you can complete your public profile. When you do that, you'll be taken to a page like this, but for your profile, I'm just demoing my own personal profile here. You'll be able to upload a profile photo or a headshot. And on the right-hand side, there'll be different fields available to you where you can volunteer some information to let attendees know a little about yourself. You will notice that there is an email included in this profile field, but just know that your email address is protected information and it cannot be shared without your consent. Now, once you've completed all of the information you would like to share, you can click that Save button to lock those changes in. And then if at any time you would like to edit this information, you can always do so by finding your name in the desktop header, hovering over that and clicking Edit My Profile. Now, out on the digital venue platform, anytime somebody clicks your image, they will be taken to your public profile page. On the left-hand side, excuse me, you'll have that image that you've uploaded, and then below that will house any of the information that you've added to your profile. On the right-hand side, this will automatically populate with any sessions you are hosting or speaking at, and that way attendees know the best way they can connect with you through your event. And before we move any further forward, I'd like to ask Kat to say a few words about the roles of the sessions.
Yes. So when you're running your session, you will probably have some different roles within your team. You as a session host will need others who can act as your co-host, your moderators, your technical hosts for your session. So you will be contacted shortly by the World Water Week team to collect names of those people so that they can be invited into the platform once they've registered. And we can provide them with the right access and tags. So the co-host and the moderators will be visible on the session page, but not a technical host. So the role of the technical host in the online and hybrid session is someone from your team that helps out in the back end with sharing your presentations or videos and maybe dividing into breakout rooms, etc. All the individuals we talked about will be invited into the green room or have access to the green room, which we'll talk more about in a little while. Thank you.
Great. Now, once you have logged into the platform, you can easily navigate to any of the sessions by heading to the top navigation on the World Water Week digital venue. And when you hover over that, this drop-down list will appear, and you can click on the My Schedule button. And that will bring you to a curated list of any sessions that have been assigned to you. It will also display any sessions that you add to your personal agenda. Once you click on the agenda card of the session that you would like to see, it will take you to the agenda details page for that session. Now, this is where you will join your virtual session, and it's also the place where attendees will join and interact with those sessions. Up at the top left, we have the name of the session. Below that is where speakers, session hosts, and other contributors may be listed. And then we'll have the various fields added by the event host. On the right-hand side, we have a countdown timer that will let us know how long until the session begins. And then below that are our interactive fields. The chat is a public persistent chat, meaning that it is available to anyone who has access to the event site before, during, and after the session. The polls feature allows attendees to interact with polls, and polls can be released before, during, and after the session. The Files tab allows attendees access to any downloadable content. And then finally, the people list is just a list of those who have registered for the session. Now, there are a few things that need to be done before the session goes live to manage your sessions. We can add polls. We'll need to upload any files that you would like your attendees to have access to. And then we can also add speakers to the session. Now, to best illustrate this, I'll actually take us back out again to the official site where I can talk about how to add those sessions or how to manage those sessions. So again, from any page on the World Water Week digital venue, we will find that program, My Schedule, which will take us to that curated list of all of the sessions that I have been assigned to. And I'll click on our demonstration session, which will bring us to the agenda details page. Now in the top left-hand corner, we'll find this Manage button. And when we click that, it kind of brings us to a session dashboard where we can manage our session. Now on the right-hand side, we have our first tab on the Basics tab here. We have our first section for speaker management. And to add a speaker to the session, we just click this plus button, and this dialog box will appear. And there's two ways that we can add a speaker to our session. We can first do so by just finding the person that we would like to add in the list. This list is searchable. So for example, if I wanted to add Dawn to this session, I could just type Dawn and it will filter the list in the dropdown. Now, the other way that you can do it is you can add them by email. Now, this email is going to be the email that is associated with the profile on the digital venue platform. So you would have to know the email they used when they registered. Speaking of when they registered, note that either version of adding a speaker to a session requires that that individual have an account on the digital platform first. You can only add them as a speaker if they have already registered. So once you've selected the person you'd like to add, you just click that Add Member button and they will appear in the speaker list. Now you can also remove any speaker by just clicking the red X, and that will remove them from the session. There's no need to save. This is a dynamic page and is automatically saving changes as you make them. The other thing we can do ahead of time is we can add files to our session. Now, these files that we would upload here, they do not interact with the session in any way. They are simply digital assets that you think or your speakers think will be handy and useful to your attendees so they can download them and own them on their personal device. To upload any file, you'll just click the Files tab, click Add New File, and then you can upload a file or use an external link. Once you've uploaded the file, give it a nice friendly display name. Now there is no limitation on the number of files that you can upload, and there is no limitation on the file types that are supported. The only limitation is that each individual file has a maximum file size of 10 gigabytes. And then you would, of course, save your changes to lock in that file that you've uploaded. The other thing we can do is we can add polls to drive engagement with our audience. To do so, you go in the polls tab, add a new poll, and just give it a friendly name. Now, this is not used or not displayed for attendees to see. It's just something used for organizational purposes. There are 3 types of poll questions you can choose from. The multi-choice poll, which will force attendees to answer with choices that you have predetermined. A free text entry allows attendees to type their own unique responses. And the rate poll is a simple 1 to 5 star rate option. Once you've added your questions and determined your display types, which we'll go over in a second, you have the ability to customize the text that is displayed inside the call to action buttons. So for example, you might want to change the button from vote to say submit. Now, by default, anybody who participates in the poll will be able to view the poll results in the digital venue. You can change that so that only you can change that so that only speakers and other session contributors can view those results by engaging that first checkbox. Also, by default, this poll would be viewable by virtual attendees as soon as the create button is pressed. And you can change that behavior so that the poll will be automatically displayed at the start time of the session, but it would be hidden prior to that. You can also manage any of the polls that are already existing for your session. Below that note, adding a new poll, any existing polls will display here, and you can also open and close those polls at your will by toggling the open close button. Now, a few illustrations of what these look like. This is an example of a free text entry using the list view of display choices, and that gives an upvote opportunity to make the more popular answers rise to the top. We also have a word cloud if you're looking for something a little more artistic. The multi-choice poll has lots of configurations you can choose from. We can make this a horizontal bar graph or a pie chart. You can change the colors for each response. You can also change whether you would like to display vote counts or vote percentages. And then finally, the rate poll, real straight ahead, 1 to 5 star in their agreement with the question or prompt. Now, before we move on to the actual types of sessions, I'd like to invite Kat back to say a few words.
Okay, so in the World Water Week venue, we will have lots of different types of sessions and formats. And most importantly, I think no matter which kind of session you are hosting, whether it's a seminar or a track or a talk show, you will be interacting with your participants here in this digital platform. So let me run through the types of sessions that we'll have during the week and what kind of configuration and how it will work on the platform. So as I mentioned, all sessions, regardless of the type, will be in the program in the World Water Week digital platform, and they will have a session page. For all session types, as we mentioned earlier, you will need to add your speakers to the session page, and you can add your files and manage polls. I also suggest that you appoint somebody from your team to manage the chat on the session page. The chat, we can say, will open on as of the 10th of August, when we invite all participants who have registered into the World Water Week digital platform. So well ahead of World Water Week. So if you have an online session between the 23rd and 25th August, whether it's a session, seminar, or a track, this will be run as a Zoom meeting. If you're hosting an on-site only session on the 28th of August, there will be no digital audience, and you will be holding your session in Folkets Hus in Stockholm, in the World Water Week physical venue. If you've selected on-site session to include online audience with no active participation, this will be a broadcast, and your meeting is configured for a Zoom webinar. You'll be holding your session in Norra Latin in Stockholm, and this is the physical venue for World Water Week. And this session or seminar will be broadcasted to the online audience through Zoom webinar and viewed in the digital platform. If you've selected an on-site session to include both online audience and active participation, a so-called hybrid meeting, it means that it's configured for a Zoom meeting. You will be holding your session in Norra Latin, in the World Water Week physical venue, and the on-site and online audience will be interacting in the Zoom meeting together in the platform. If you're hosting a talk show, it will be configured for a live stream, and the stream will be viewed by the audience directly through the platform. And just as like any other session, as mentioned in the beginning, your talk show will also be in the program, and you should add your speakers and add files, manage polls, and appoint somebody to manage your chat. So Dale will now go through the difference between running a session in Zoom meeting or Zoom webinar. So please take special note when he talks about the format in which your session will be used. Dale.
Great, thanks, Kat. Yeah, so we're gonna dig in now to the two different types of Zoom-enabled sessions, webinars and meetings. And we'll start out by talking about these from the virtual attendees perspective. A webinar is configured as kind of a broadcast, sit back and watch experience. While you and your speakers and other contributors will be using the Zoom application, your virtual attendees are watching through an embedded player on the agenda details page. They'll be communicating through the chat and polls feature used in the digital venue, not chatting inside Zoom. Meetings, on the other hand, are very interactive. Virtual presenters, attendees, everyone is popped out using the Zoom application. So they'll have access to use their live camera, microphones, screen share, and participate in the breakout rooms. Chat in the digital venue, not in Zoom, once again. Now, for both types of these sessions, attendees will not be able to record to their personal devices at any time. Now let's look at these same sessions from the host virtual presenter's point of view. Again, we'll start with webinars. Since your audience will be chatting in the digital venue, you'll be able to use the virtual or the Zoom chat as a virtual backstage channel with your fellow speakers, moderators, and anyone else in the Zoom room with you. Your session will not broadcast out to attendees until the Start Webinar button has been pressed by your green room technician. And the green room technician will also begin the recording once the broadcast has started. Now for meetings, your virtual audience will join you directly in the Zoom room. Again, using the chat inside the digital venue. Again, allowing you to use the Zoom chat as a private backstage chat. Now, unlike webinars, meetings will automatically begin 1 minute before the scheduled start time of the session, and a technician will manually begin the recording when you're ready. Now, for meetings, meetings are for those of you with an online session or an on-site hybrid session. Your green room or your practice session will be available to you 20 minutes before the start time of the session. This is where you can meet your virtual speakers, and there will be designated support team inside the green room to help you start your meeting, and they'll also be able to help you with any technical issues throughout the meeting. This is a great place for you to check your audio, video, and screen sharing before going live to virtual attendees. Now, your virtual meeting will automatically allow attendees access to the Zoom room 1 minute before the start time of the session. And if your meeting runs over the scheduled end time, there is a 10-minute grace period added to the duration of the Zoom room before that Zoom room will automatically close. Now, to start your meeting, you'll once again navigate up to that program in the navigation bar and find My Schedule. That will bring you to that curated list of all of your sessions. And when you click on the agenda card of the session you would like to begin, it will take you to that agenda details page. Now, again, that countdown timer is going to let you and your attendees know how long until that session begins. But you, as a session contributor, have access to a green room. So when that countdown timer reaches 20 minutes, it will automatically be replaced with a Join Meeting button. When you click Join Meeting, this will launch the Zoom application for you and put you into the green room. So there are no emails, no links, nothing else that you need. Everything you need to get right into the correct Zoom green room is right here on your agenda details page. And anyone who is needing to manage that virtual meeting in any way or is a virtual presenter needs to have the Zoom application installed on their device before joining the session. Now, again, once you click that Join Meeting button, it will launch Zoom for you and bring you into your green room. And this green room is a great place for you to verify your audio, video, and screen sharing are functioning properly. If you are screen sharing, I recommend you open the application you would like to share first, and then press the green Share Screen button. And there are a few things I'd like to talk about here. You can share your entire desktop, or my personal recommendation is to just share the application that you would like your attendees to see. If that presentation has any media like videos or anything else, please choose the Optimize Screen Share for Video Clips in the bottom left-hand corner before pressing the blue Share button. Now, everyone who joined you in the green room is going to come in with a peculiar name. It'll be host or co-host followed by a number. And the reason for that is when you click the Join Meeting button, you are using the digital venue's Zoom licenses, not your own personal Zoom license. So you'll need to rename yourself to your preferred name. To do so, you'll just click the Participants button in the Zoom toolbar, which will pop out the Participants panel. Once in that panel, the list of everyone in that session will appear, and you can easily identify yourself in the crowd by simply looking for the one that says Me. You'll hover your mouse over that listed name, and this More button will appear, and then you can click Rename to rename yourself to your preferred name. Now, when the session is ready to go live, again, 1 minute before the start time of the session, your attendees will join you right here inside this Zoom room. Your green room technician will click the record button and record to cloud as soon as you all are ready to record the session. Now, virtual attendees will pop out in Zoom with you, which means they have access to participate with their microphone and camera. They will not use the Zoom chat. They will only be able to communicate with you through the chat and polls features out in the digital venue. So please direct everyone back to the agenda details page to engage with that chat. Now, the digital venues chat is not connected to the Zoom chat. So we recommend that session hosts assign someone to monitor the chat on the agenda details page and pass along anything relevant to the session contributors. For example, Q&A questions. 2 monitors is really helpful in managing the 2 different platforms, dedicating 1 monitor to each. But if you don't have access to 2 monitors, that's okay. When we distribute this, we will be able to share a link with you where you can have a guide through setting up a split screen on a single monitor. Now, full disclosure, all it really talks about is a way to resize the 2 different windows to occupy a single screen. There's really no secret sauce to that article. You can also pop out the Zoom chat and use that as that private backstage chat with all of your speakers, panelists, and really anyone who joined that green room with you. I recommend using the chat with a specific person to ensure that the conversation stays private by making sure you select their name in the blue dropdown before submitting that chat response. Now, as a session host, you may be responsible for the creation and management of breakout rooms, where you may assign someone to be responsible for it. Now, it's important to note that breakout rooms are only available in meeting-style Zoom sessions. They cannot be scheduled or pre-assigned. However, the following configuration I will go over can be done in the green room. just make sure that you're using the latest version of Zoom so that you can have the correct functionality. And when you're ready to configure your breakout rooms, you'll find the breakout rooms button at the bottom of the Zoom toolbar. There are a few options for how breakout rooms can be created. First, you'll choose how many rooms you would like to create. Then you'll decide if attendees will be manually or automatically assigned to the breakout rooms. Or you can make them available to choose their own room at their own pace once you've configured the number of rooms and how attendees will join their breakout rooms. You can click the Create button. Clicking Create does not open the breakout rooms. It just creates them. There are still tons of things you can customize. You can rename a room, you can add rooms, and delete rooms. You can reorder which participants will be sent into which rooms. And if you've configured your breakout rooms to be manual, you can click the Assign button to assign participants to each room. Now, in the lower left-hand corner of that breakout room window, you can click the gear icon for Mac users, or it'll say Options for Windows users, and this allows further customization. Notably, an option to allow participants in the main room at any time, even before you've closed a breakout room. You can automatically move attendees to a breakout room as soon as you open them. If this is disabled, however, attendees will receive a prompt to asking them to join the breakout room. So when disabled, they will have to engage and accept the invitation in order to move into their breakout rooms. And the final one I would like to talk about is configuring a duration of a timer that counts down to the termination of the breakout rooms once they've been manually closed. And that timer will display to all attendees as a pop-out window within Zoom inside their own breakout rooms. Now, once your rooms are all configured, you're free to open them up at your convenience. You click Open All Rooms. You can check the top of that breakout room window also to see the status of your rooms. Now, once you've opened up all of your breakout rooms, you can also send a message to all participants. This is generally used for housekeeping reminders or conversation prompts. Any message that has been broadcast out to all will show up in the Zoom window itself, not in the Zoom chat, ensuring higher visibility. I'd like to throw it again to Kat to talk about the live element in Venue.
Okay, for all of you that have chosen an on-site session to include both online audience and active participation, a hybrid meeting, you will be using this Zoom meeting as well as the physical room. So in Norra Latin, you will have we will have two hybrid rooms. So, and in each of these rooms, there will be a cameraman and one image producer to assist you with your hybrid session. Each of the physical rooms will have tables set up as islands with seating of 8 people around each island. And these tables will be your on-site breakout rooms. You will need to divide the online attendees in the appropriate breakout rooms in your Zoom meeting. For your hybrid meeting, it's important that you assign both an online moderator as well as an on-site moderator to coordinate between what's happening online and on-site. It's also very, very important that you have a detailed script or run sheet to share with the camera team to let the image producer know which image is to be visible on the screen in the room or in the Zoom meeting. It will be very important for you to practice your Zoom meeting skills together with your team and divide up the tasks and the roles for this kind of a session. We suggest that you go to the Convener Success Program and look at the checklist for running a Zoom meeting later on. So to you, Dale.
Great. Okay, so now we will talk about the webinar formats.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Back to me now.
Back to you.
Yes. This is for you who have chosen the on-site broadcast sessions. So we will have 5 on-site broadcast rooms, each equipped with a camera person to assist with the broadcast. Now, there will be two options here. For those that will have remote speakers in your broadcasted sessions, you will need to join the green room as session host 20 minutes in advance, along with your speakers who are participating remotely. The camera person on site will also join the green room to coordinate this session. You will need to have prepared a run sheet for the camera person to know when to cut to external speakers. And don't forget that your external speaker will need to register to be able to speak in your session. If you don't have any remote speakers in your broadcasting session, the camera person will take care of the green room and the broadcast, and you just focus on your session. To you, Dale.
All right, great. So we will deep dive into the webinar style Zoom room session now. And again, in a webinar, you have access to that green room, and it's available to you 20 minutes before the start time of your session. And this is where you'll meet your fellow speakers and moderators and tech support that are participating virtually. You'll be able to check that audio, video, and screen sharing before going live to attendees. A webinar will not be broadcast out to your virtual attendees until that Start Webinar button has been clicked. And for your webinar, if it runs over the scheduled end time, again, we'll give you that 10-minute grace period before the room will automatically close. Now, to navigate to your webinar, it's the exact same path as before. You'll find that program, My Schedule, in the top navigation bar, and click on the agenda details card of the session that you're ready to join. And once again, when that countdown timer reaches 20 minutes, it will automatically shift over into a join meeting button where you can click that and be launched into your webinar's green room. Now you'll notice you're in a webinar's green room because there is a start webinar button up at the top. So I will ask you to not press that button until you are ready to broadcast out to attendees. And I believe that task is to be handled by the camera person on site or the green room technician that is in the space virtually. Now, this is a great time for you to test your audio, video, and screen sharing before going live to your attendees. And you will also need to rename yourself once again because you'll come in with that interesting host and then a number name. Now, to start your webinar, you'll click that start, or your technician will click the Start Webinar button. And we'll ask them to confirm that they are in fact ready to go live to virtual attendees. Now, once that button has been confirmed, it cannot be undone, although we do offer a safety net. If that button is pressed early, it will not broadcast the contents of this Zoom room to your virtual attendees until 1 minute before the start time of the session. Since sessions are set to pre-record, as soon as that button is confirmed, it will also, engage the recording, and you can confirm the recording is happening by looking in the top left-hand corner to see the record icon. Now, as a moderator, speaker, or anyone else in the green room with you, once the webinar begins, the view here will not change. You will stay inside the green room. Once you are broadcasting to attendees, they will be able to see the contents of this room in embedded player inside the digital venue platform. Now, the virtual attendee experience during the webinar will look something like this. The top is just an example of a live camera view of a speaker sharing their video. And attendees will be able to interact with the platform using the chat, polls, and files feature. And the bottom image is a speaker sharing their screen.
Okay, we also suggest that if you are going to be using Zoom webinar, that you go to the Convener Success Program to check out the checklist there. So after your session, the recording will be uploaded to your session page within 24 to 48 hours. The recording is of the main room only. So if you have a Zoom meeting, it will continue recording the main room during breakout rooms, but not record the breakout rooms.
Right. Now, I'd like to pivot us over to some best practices for our virtual presenters. Now, before your presentation, I'd encourage you to think about your lighting. And you don't need to go out and buy a fancy ring light or anything to have some really great diffuse lighting. You can really achieve some great results by just having 2 lamps with lampshades on either side of your camera. This will help to light your face with a nice diffused soft light. Just avoid being next to or in front of any kind of windows or other bright light sources, as that may thrust your face into shadow. Also recommend using your computer or raising your computer camera up towards the eye level with your eyes. And this ensures that whenever you're looking forward, you'll be looking your gaze more towards the camera lens and helping to direct that towards your attendees. And it'll also help to avoid any uncomfortable double chin situation. Now, I also very much recommend an external headset. And this can be earbuds or a proper headset like my own, but these external devices are going to be better than the ones built into your computer. So we recommend those. Now, a day or 2 before your presentation, I recommend checking your Zoom application to make sure that you're using the latest version. After that, I would also recommend restarting your computer, as it can just solve many of those weird computer bugs. Also, close out any unnecessary browser tabs while presenting. These tabs can slow down your computer and negatively affect the presentation quality. And finally, make sure that anything that you will be using during your presentation is fully charged and functioning before joining the green room. Want to make sure that you have silenced all interruptions possible. So turn off your phone, exit any programs that might pop up during your presentation, like Slack, Skype, Outlook. And note specifically for Mac and iPhone users that your computer will ring if you get a call. So make sure you put that computer into do not disturb mode. And Windows users, I just recommend turning off notifications in the control panel. If you are presenting from home and have pets, children, poltergeists, or anything else, take the precautions that you have available to you to ensure that they do not disturb you during your presentation. Now, virtual backgrounds are obviously very popular for presenting virtually. I would just recommend making sure that they are not distracting. You are the star of this show, not your background. And truthfully, a pleasant view of a bookcase or some artwork behind you tends to be less distracting than a poor performing background. And finally, we just want to ensure that you're not competing for bandwidth. So if there are others in the household with you, just to ensure that maybe they take a break from Xbox or pause Netflix to give you all of the available bandwidth for your presentation. And the final update I have for you is to never share your direct Zoom link with anyone outside the Zoom room. This bypasses the security measures that have been put in place by both the digital venue and by Zoom. And worst case scenario, it could result in the termination of the live Zoom session. Now, you can, however, share the URL of your agenda details page in order to promote your session. So that would look like sharing this URL of your agenda details page. You're more than welcome to share this to promote your session, not the Zoom link. Please don't share the Zoom link. And now I'd like to throw it over to Sofia to talk about the Convener Success Program.
Thanks, Dale. The Convener Success Program helps conveners create impactful sessions and memorable experiences for all participants. Here, you as a convener will find resources you need to make the most of your different activities. And we recommend that you check out our tools, checklists, and tutorials packed with inspiration and handy tips for online and on-site sessions, exhibitions, closed meetings, and more. We also have a comprehensive convener FAQ that we will continuously update over the summer. But of course, please don't hesitate to contact World Water Week at CW.org should you have any questions that you can't find answers to in the Convener Success Program. We advise you to review the recording of this video and share with your colleagues who can join us today. Thank you, Dale, for your training today. And now Kat and I will address the questions that were submitted to us prior to the webinar. And if there's time after, we'll take questions in the chat. Otherwise, everyone is welcome to email us, as we are here to help.
Okay, I'll just go then to the first question that we had. sent to us. In one of our online sessions, we would like to play short videos in between presentations. We'll be looking for info on how to do that and what assistance the AV tech guys can provide.
Yeah, great. So you will need to share your screen and play the video. There's a checkbox at the bottom of the screen when you come to choosing the application to share. The checkbox allows you to optimize screen share for video clip, and you can select this and choose the application containing the video.
So what are the participant numbers expected on average for an online session?
So we have a capacity for 500 attendees. Last year on average, we had a range of 50 to 300 per session. And the maximum limit was in 2021 was set to 300. So we have a much higher capacity this year.
Okay. Is there a way to gauge how many participants register for our session in advance? What is the quality of videos when streaming using this platform? And describe the kind of technical backstopping that is provided.
All right, so I'll try to answer those in order because it's a lot of questions. But in terms of attendees, they're not asked to pre-register for sessions. However, they have the option of adding your session to their schedule. You'll only be able to see how many people have added your session to their schedules. You won't be able to see who has done so. Regarding the second question around quality of videos, the session will be conducted using Zoom, which is embedded in the virtual platform. We've talked about that. Zoom optimizes screen sharing of a full screen video clip to ensure the attendees have the best quality experience. And then finally, in terms of technical backstopping, in each session, there will be a technical support person online and a camera person on site to assist with any technical difficulties. So Kat, your thoughts on how online interactivity and face-to-face interactivity can work?
So each on-site session is scheduled using Zoom meeting, Zoom webinar, or live streaming on the digital platform. These configurations are dictated by the interactivity between your online and on-site audience. So we suggest using, if you're not in Zoom meeting where you can do breakout rooms, etc., you can use the chat function we talked about in the digital platform, and definitely use the polls as much as possible on your digital platform to engage your audience. And of course, the chat and the Q&A.
Great. So what tools are being used to measure biodiversity?
Okay, post-event, we will be releasing statistical analysis based on the aggregated attendee data on gender, age, and geographical representation. And this will be available on worldwaterweek.org.
And how many speakers do you generally recommend for an online session?
So there are no hard and fast rules for the number of speakers. You do, however, in an online session, have 80 minutes to engage your audience. So we would suggest that you create and maintain interest by involving a variety of ways to run your session, with some keynote speakers, hosting a panel discussion with different guests, using the moderator, creating engagement through breakout rooms and networking that way. So, Sofia, we have a convener who is alone and doesn't have co-conveners. Does that mean they will have to moderate the session themselves, or will there be anybody from the World Water Week team to support in that?
So as the session host, you are responsible for the content, speakers, format, and moderation of your session. This is your session. So we are happy to support you with our gold standard guidelines, speaker directory, and technical assistance during your session, but you are main organization responsible for your session.
Okay. Do you have any tips and best practices for conducting an engaging online session?
Absolutely. So as I mentioned previously, our Convener Success Program is where we have tons of checklists and tips for creating an engaging session. We have an entire PowerPoint dedicated to the different ways to have kind of a digital engagement. So I definitely recommend checking that out after this webinar.
Okay. So is the World Water Week digital platform accessible for users and speakers using assistive technology?
Mm-hmm. So this is a great question. We'll need to look into this some more, but we can recommend that each session host consider activating closed caption for your session. If your session is in English and your speakers can speak slowly and clearly, then we definitely recommend the closed captioning. Moving on, our next question, Kat, does CWE provide technical support on tech or platform for each session, or are we as conveners required to appoint a volunteer to play this role for each session?
Okay, we will have dedicated technicians in each session to monitor and provide support. They will not be helping you share your screen or show videos, etc. So they can assist you when you're hosting a regular online session or hybrid session when you need to interact between the two different mediums, say. But you will be the ones to share screen and do breakout rooms, etc.
So when will session panelists or coordinators receive the video recording links?
Okay, you can get access to the raw and not edited video from your session after the World Water Week. But for that to happen, you need to fill out a request form prior to the week. And we will send you an email then after that with a raw video approximately 7 to 10 business days after the event. Now, the form, if you want to fill that in, is located on the Convener Success Program webpage. If you don't request the recordings, you will have access to the video on World Water Week YouTube channel. All sessions will be uploaded approximately 60 days after the week. But please notice that the on-site only sessions, of course, will not be recorded. So there will be no record of that.
And another question we received, how can I integrate tools such as Jamboard into the session?
Okay, Jamboard, you can use an application like Jamboard by sharing your screen with your audience in a Zoom meeting, just as you would using Teams in any other normal Teams or Zoom meeting. So let me see here. So for Sofia, for hybrid and broadcast sessions, can a speaker do an online presentation if he or she is not able to join in person?
Absolutely. They are able to present remotely in the Zoom meeting or webinar embedded on the digital platform. So if, like you said, if you have a hybrid or broadcast session, you can have remote speakers.
We are hosting an online session. Do each of our panelists have to register?
Absolutely. So everyone needs to register, otherwise they will not receive access to the World Water Week digital platform. So please don't forget to have them register and add them as speakers to your session once they have done so. All right, so that is it for our pre-submitted questions. I think we have a few minutes. What do you think, Kat, for some questions from the chat?
Yes, that would be great. Dale, can you open up
Yes.
the chat?
Yeah, so the chat is now live for participants to use. So if you have any questions, you will now have that chat button available to you to submit questions.
Okay, Dawn here. Can I jump in and read out these questions that are coming through?
Thank you.
Sounds great.
So the first question is, how do we avail of the 3 free tickets we got as conveners? One for you, Kat.
Yes, I can take that one. So the 3 free tickets apply to the online sessions only. And we will be sending out a link to you as session host that you will be able to forward with registration to your 3 chosen speakers. So that is coming up in a couple of days. We'll be doing that. But as I said, it's for the online sessions only, 3 free speakers.
Great. We have a question here from Suchi. Will we have access to the platform for dry runs?
I think I can take that one as well. You will be able to, you can always download Zoom and practice in Zoom. The platform itself, you need to think of it as the venue, as the conference location. So it's a place that will host you when you come, but your practice you'll need to do in your Zoom meeting or Zoom webinar.
Thank you, Kat. Moving on, here's one from Anjali. Thanks for a great session. Thank you, Anjali. Could you please clarify what the role is of the on-site image producer?
I'll go for there again. The on-site image producer is a person who will be there to help you in your session to, as I said, we talked about earlier, you need to have a very detailed run sheet to be able to share. So it will say, like, now we have a panel on stage, and so that the image producer will know, okay, I'm filming the panel on stage, and then it will say, the run sheet will say, now cut to remote speaker in Zoom, and then that speaker will be ready in Zoom, and then the sheet might say, okay, our online moderator will now divide the on-site online to group rooms, and then, you know, the film, the camera will go maybe just to the main stage, etc. So he will sort of steer the image of where the filming is going to take place. Does that help? Yeah.
I hope that clarifies that for you, Anjali. Here's one from Lauren. She asks, we are hosting a broadcasted session and are thinking about having some group discussions for the on-site portion. Can we still do that if the session is broadcast and ask the camera person to follow one of the group discussions?
That's a very good question. I like that one. I think that it could be possible. I don't know how engaging it will be for others to watch one single group discussion. It could be possible. I think you need to think how engaging that will be for viewers online. But and the cameras are quite movable, but they are directed towards the stage, the front part of the room. So think about that an extra round before you commit to doing that kind of breakout sessions in your broadcast.
Thank you.
And sorry, I just wanted to add another point. I would think that, you know, for your online audience, it would be more engaging to have them also go into either breakout groups or something like that, or do something in the chat, and rather than watching others on site. So maybe think about that as an option, perhaps providing feedback or scenarios within the chat.
Great, some food for thought for you, Lauren. Next question here from Claire. Will there be checklists for the different meeting, webinar, seminars provided to the host?
Yes, and they'll be posted in the Convener Success Program.
Thank you. Here's one from George, a clarification request. Sophia mentioned that for hybrid sessions, they cannot have remote speakers. That is, all speakers, panelists will have to be on site. I don't think that's actually correct, but maybe Kat or Sophia can clarify that.
Yes, so what I did say is that we can have remote speakers. So you are allowed to have remote speakers for your hybrid and broadcast sessions. So sorry if that wasn't quite clear before. So you are able to have speakers online.
I think we are running out of time here, so perhaps one last question, and this one is for Dale from Radika. Will the Zoom chat be available for session hosts for internal use? And if yes, will participants still be able to view the chat even if they can't participate in the chat?
The answer is yes, you can absolutely use Zoom as a private backstage chat, and participants will not be able to view the chat functionality in Zoom at all. Your virtual attendees cannot view the chat at all.
Great, and just to wrap up these questions here, there's still a lot of questions that we haven't had time to get to. What we will do is answer you all individually with the correct answers. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Back to Dale. I think we can go ahead and close this session. Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah, we really appreciate your time. Thank you for joining the session today, and this recording will be distributed later. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a nice rest of your day and a great session.
Bye.